For his Nick Bogert is standing by live outside the federal court in Orlando, where those hearings began this morning. And Nick joins us now with the latest. Nick?
Gordon, it has been a long time since we saw Florida's most notorious death row inmate out in public. In fact, prison officials say the last time that Theodore Bundy was outside of the state prison at Stark was in January of 1986, when he was sentenced to death for killing Kimberly Ann Leach of Lake City in 1978, just 4 blocks away from here at the Orange County Courthouse. Now, a 40-year-old Ted Bundy is back in Orlando at federal court, and his attorneys are arguing he was not mentally competent when he acted as his own attorney in the Leach case. Basically, Ted Bundy arrived in a corrections van here a little after 7 a.m. He had an armed escort with him, and courthouse security has been very tight here. Ted Bundy is considered an escape risk. In court, Ted Bundy looked thin, he looked pale, his hairline has receded some since we last saw him in public. But his demeanor's calm, he's relaxed, he's chewing gum, he smiled as he talked to lawyers during a break. Now, Bundy, on the stand, the man who assisted Bundy, a public defender who assisted Bundy in preparing his case in another case, Michael Minerva, said that Bundy was not capable of making a decision. There was a basic defect in his reasoning process, and his behavior devastated the defense case because he was unpredictable in running his own defense. Now, out in front of the federal courthouse, they've just broken for lunch. You can see some of the lawyers and the reporters gathered there now. Earlier this morning, we had Guardian Angels driven in from West Palm Beach mounting a protest. They want Ted Bundy to go to the electric chair. He faces the death penalty not only for the killing of Kimberly Ann Leach, but also for the killing of 2 Florida State University co-eds. He was convicted of those murders in a Miami courtroom, you may remember, back in 1979. He's also suspected of more than 30 other slayings, many of them in the Pacific Northwest, where he lived for a time. Now, what we're going to see here today is testimony from lawyers who can talk about what Ted Bundy was like during the Kimberly Ann Leach case, how he handled himself. Then there are some days set aside in mid-December when there will be psychiatrists' expert testimony about Ted Bundy's mental state. And only after we've heard all that evidence might there be some kind of decision that will mean either life or death for Ted Bundy. Back to you in Miami now.
So, Nick, it looks like we might not have a decision in that case until perhaps after the first of next year.
That's entirely possible, Gordon. Yeah, that's the time frame they're shooting for is sometime in 1988.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
Was in Orlando for the hearing today, and he's here now with details. Nick.
John, it has been a very long time since Florida's most notorious death row inmate has been in a public courtroom for us to see. But today, amid heavy security, a heavy complement of prison guards, and an even heavier media contingent, Ted Bundy came to court here.
Count 1. We, the jury, find defendant Theodore Robert Bundy guilty of murder in the first degree as charged.
The public's last look at Ted Bundy came in an Orange County courtroom just 4 blocks away from today's federal court hearing. There, a jury found him guilty of kidnapping and killing Kimberly Leach. She was just 12 years old, a student at Lake City Junior High School.
Andy Anderson's testimony does not establish...
Bundy acted as his own attorney in the Leach murder trial. His current lawyers say he destroyed the defense case. Bundy's arrival here meant massive security, and it brought protest, a small band of Guardian Angels who'd driven up from West Palm Beach to urge that Bundy's sentence be carried out.
He's had his justice. He's gone up for appeal after appeal after appeal, and it's time. How much longer is it going to be drawn on?
Bundy seemed relaxed in court today. He chewed gum, rocked in his chair, and spoke little. Defense lawyer James Coleman zeroed in on Bundy's behavior at earlier trials, questioning 2 lawyers who had helped Bundy with his defense. Public defender Edward Harvey said he wondered about Bundy's mental state because he refused to admit the state had any evidence against him. Though today's testimony dealt mostly with Bundy's incompetence in legal matters, his lawyers say their point is broader. How about whether we're talking about incompetence to be his own lawyer or incompetence to stand trial?
We're talking about competency to stand trial.
Now, prosecutors said little except the Bundy death sentence is fair.
And I think our job is to preserve that verdict, and that's the only comment I have.
All the parties will be back here in December. That is when psychiatrists will be called for the defense to try and buttress the argument that the lawyers made today, that Theodore Bundy's mental state was so poor he didn't really understand the charges against him. John?
Wait a minute, Nick. As we've indicated, this is not Bundy's only death sentence. Is it possible that he could actually win this case and still be executed?
That is possible. On that other case of the 2 Florida State co-eds, the one that the Miami jury sentenced him to death for back in 1979, that is also on federal appeal, and Bundy's lawyers are trying a similar mental competency argument in that case. And of course, there are all those cases, 30 or more perhaps, in western states that Theodore Bundy has not been tried and convicted of yet. Any one of those, I suppose, could result in a death penalty if the ones in Florida do not. Anna?
Thank you, Nick.